morning. Good morning. My name is Cecil Ryan, and the program is Easy at Hand. Of course, on the radio station, the clean, fresh sound. Easy, sorry, WEFM. And we are very pleased to greet you on another Sunday morning, Sunday, February 9, 2025, of course. So we greet you. Thank you very much, Marlon. And Pigeon, greetings.
Greetings, Cecil, and good morning to you. It's 20 days since Trump.
Okay.
We're still doing well. So let me say pleasant good morning to our listeners to WEFM, wherever you are. And especially to those persons who listen to Issue at Hand without fail. And as usual, we have another interesting program for you today. So listen up, give us a call if you can, and let us engage.
Well, Pigeon, today is going to be Celebration Day. Ahead of, Celebration Day, ahead of the 8th anniversary of the beginning of operation of the Argyle International Airport, which is the 14th of February, next week. Wednesday, is it, Pigeon? The 14th.
The 14th,
yes,
at Valentine's Day.
Right, and that's when the airport commenced its operation.
Yes.
So we're going to have a form of a celebration today, and to spearhead, to lead us celebration, we're going to have in studio with us the Prime Minister himself, Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves, will be in studio with us this morning. So we're looking forward to, as you said, a lively, engaging discussion on the program this morning. We want to greet those persons who are listening via Star FM, Star Radio, and the Garifuna Radio, and all the platforms wherever you're on. We greet you very warmly, and of course, we do appreciate the fact that you're part of the Isiot and WEFM family. This is where we try to communicate with you, and we communicate authentic and authoritative information. We don't spin. We try not to spin. In fact, we don't spin. We basically relate to the facts. We, from time to time, express an opinion on the facts, but essentially we aim to present facts to people. And that is why, Pigeon, a number of people meet me, even this week, meet me all the time and tell me they listen to our program religiously, and they do because of the way we handle matters. And we do appreciate that, and we will continue to serve our community in that way, to be honest. Sometimes our engagements are robust, but that's the nature of the game. We try to be as honest as possible, factual as possible. Pigeon, it's interesting that this morning's discussion, we're going to be discussing the operations at the Argyle International Airport. And of course, as you know, Pigeon, discussing the Argyle International Airport is no stranger with us. In fact, we have perhaps an obligation to continue, because we were there from the very start. We've conducted, I think it was 4 programs live, where actually Joe's here at WEFM actually transported his radio station at the site at Argyle. On those occasions, we actually were able to take calls from there and respond to queries and questions. And the Prime Minister himself has been there. He has appeared twice on the program out there with us, and also with other people who belong to the Argyle International Airport Company, people like Dr. Rudy Mattaz, people like Jeffrey Cato. I think he was on there once before his passing, and other people, stalwarts who worked at the Argyle International Airport. I remember some drivers, some of them who are still I'm in contact with some of them. Certainly, my good friend up in Simon, Isa. I want to wish him well this morning, and I believe he's listening. Isa used to drive on those big trucks, and also another brother from Stubbs. And I remember that brother told me that I don't remember his name now, but he told me some times when he used to have to drive that big truck to dump waste material over at the Stubbsby. His leg used to tremble because of the load, the weight of the load, and where they had to drive down to deposit the material. I know also another friend I used to have out there. He used to drive a big truck, and the truck used to be as clean as ever. You won't believe he was dealing in mud and that kind of thing. Apparently, he washed the truck after he walked every evening, and he kept it as if it was a taxi vehicle. He kept it clean and nice, and he was so proud. Of course, there were some mishaps there as well. I know of one situation where a huge tire blew out and damaged the person who was working on the tire. And I think there were other mishaps, some of which I can't recall. But that's where the Argyle International Airport, as it is now, that's where it came from. And I'm sure the Prime Minister is going to highlight some of those things this morning so people would have a fuller understanding of the journey that led to what's happening there now. But in the process, we have to remember that there's some people who walked, they just give their all into the construction of the Argyle International Airport. I remember also a man from up in Murray's village, Brother Little. He used to drive one of the heavy rollers. I saw him not long ago. He's doing well still. So these are all these folks who worked out there at the airport, and we have been part of the process. I know people like Jennifer Richardson has played a pivotal role in terms of providing the public with updates and information. And Sydney, I think it's Morgan. Remember him? He used to provide running, present the story in running photography, photos of what's happening and so on and so forth. So
you can't forget the novel idea from Consul General.
Oh,
Drop a dollar.
The drop a dollar, the drop a dollar man. Yeah. I'm sure we're going to come back to that. But yes, I want to remember Consul General and the role that he played. And we're talking about our brother Fitzhuggins. He played a pivotal role also. And even as I mentioned his name, I'm reminded, Pigeon, that we have to, an unfortunate thing happened to Darren Andrews, where his tutor got burnt down. And I want to say that I myself intend to make a contribution to his recovery. I remember last year when I had that mishap, with where I was, it was on March 14. I had a mishap from a Keku walk.
Yeah.
It was Darren who drove his vehicle, and his wife, who's a doctor, was in the vehicle accompanying me. And I think there were one or two other doctors, fortunately, who went with me. So if only for that, I have to contribute to Darren's recovery. And I would urge other people to do the same.
I want to make a suggestion that throughout the program today, we ask a few questions for the benefit of our young listeners.
Yes.
For instance, who was the project manager? Which country donated the most?
You mean at Argyle?
At Argyle, yes.
Well, you could pose them now, and maybe after.
But I haven't formulated them as yet.
Oh, okay.
Just based on the discussion as it goes along.
Yeah, but or a regular winner. A regular winner.
Julicia?
Yeah, she might just be listening to the program and know the answer to the questions. Pigeon, even while we were talking here, Prime Minister just came in the studio, and we're really happy to have him with us today. He is the man who anchored and led and fought the battle to have the Argyle International Airport up and going and operating. So we're very pleased that he could be in studio with us this morning to talk about that experience and share with our listeners and followers that experience of the construction and now the operation of the Argyle International Airport. There are a few questions we would want the Prime Minister to focus on as we go along, but we would point to those questions as he gets settled in. We're just trying to make things as comfortable as possible for Prime Minister. As soon as he gets settled in, we would.
Good morning, Cecil.
Good morning, Prime Minister.
Good morning.
I'm very pleased that you have me here
Yes.
this morning to talk about AIA,
Yeah.
Argyle International Airport, and we're having we're coming up to our 8th anniversary on the 14th.
Right.
Friday coming here is the 7th. Friday coming here is the 14th.
14th, yes.
Friday
And
coming
the
here is
8th.
the 14th. Yesterday was Friday, this week was gone. Here was
It
the
was
7th.
7th, yes.
Valentine's Day. And we're having a ceremony at 4:30 out at Argyle. If you notice at the entrance, they're putting up they built a structure on which they're going to put a sign, Argyle International Airport.
Oh, okay. Okay.
When you drive past there, you'll see text.
I'll make it. Note.
There used to be some other advertisement there.
Yeah. That
site. And
that's very good.
They're planting up some stuff, and they like to keep it, let it look very attractive.
Yeah, I remember when Greaves was here not long ago. She did mention that they were.
That.
Yes. So I'm happy that they have done that.
No.
I saw one sign towards giving direction to the airport itself, and then on the direction to Georgetown. So that one looks really, really international. Yes. So, but PM, if you don't mind, if you could start from what's happening there now. You know, what are these things happening there now and the projections, and then we can go back.
Sure.
Talking about the history of.
Well, perhaps it's better to start from 2017 when we opened.
Okay.
So that persons can get an idea as to what we were thinking about at the time of the opening. You may recall that when we opened, and something which must always be constant, is the fact that we have achieved at Argyle International what some persons refer to as an impossible dream. And when we opened in 2017, February the 14th, we opened really with the determination to make AIA work and to protect it and to defend it, because there are people, even today, for political reasons, the slightest hiccup there is manufactured into a cause célèbre, a disaster, a crisis, and so on and so forth. And we have to always be defending AIA this thing which has been built with lots of faith and hope and tremendous love and solidarity. You may recall that when it was built, and we can come back to some of the negativism of the earlier period, the mantra was, by forces opposed to it, was that this thing is going to be a white elephant. We made it plain, and you would have heard me with the compelling narrative otherwise. Build it, and the people will come.
Like I say, made it plain. He made it plain.
That's
Very
interesting.
plain.
The pun on the word plain.
Plain.
Double
I made it
on
plain.
time.
Build it and they will come. You may recall that there are persons who said there's going to be no tourism on St. Vincent. Only in the Grenadines you can have tourism. People who don't study anything. They briefcase something, they decide that they're going to wrap it up with petty politics, and they have no vision, and they say that. They say, why are you going to build an international airport, only to transport persons here, where you have to send them down to the Grenadines by twin otters and so on and so forth, smaller planes. Don't waste that money. And I took time out to present the data that wherever you have had an international airport in any country, not an international airport in a distant place in a country that already has several international airports, and you come to a Caribbean country or any island nations anywhere around the world, you build it and the airlines would come. And of course, we saw the potential of tourism, among other things, in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and we had to build strategically for it. One plank was the Argyle International Airport. Another one was the jet airport in Canouan, because the J.F. Mitchell Airport existed in Beckway, and there's the one in Mustique, and the one down in Union Island. But we needed, given the size of the investments in Canouan, a jet airport. Now, clearly, when you start an airport, you're not going to have immediately all the planes come in. You have to negotiate with the international carriers. And the international carriers are going to come if you have the tourism plant expanding. So we planned that for the first 4 or so years after the opening of Argyle International, we will have to capitalize its operation. Meaning, operating it you wouldn't be able to pay for its operation out of the recurrent revenues. And this is not the first kind of a project which you have to capitalize its operation for the first few years. In our case in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and we did the study for the capitalization of it for the first 4 so years, I presented the information in Parliament. The name of the study, we did it by an international company. If I remember the name of the company, I think it was Boyd, B-O-I-D-E. I stand corrected on the name. There's so many studies which we have done, but I think that's the one. Anyway, so we are going in 2017. We moved from Annesville to Argyle in 2017. In the middle of the February, 6 weeks into that new year. And the first year, the number of passengers, they were modest. Increase in 2018, increase in 2019. And I can give the data because I have the data. But I want to tell the story without the data.
Okay.
And then 2020, COVID. Then 2021, COVID went into 2021. People tend to forget that the month in which you had the highest number of deaths from COVID was in early 2021. It started from November, December, accelerated into 2021. And then in April 2021, you had 21 volcanic eruptions. And then in July 2021, we have Hurricane Elsa. Those external events, because COVID didn't come internally, and external in the sense it's external to the operation of AIA. And then, of course, hurricane and the volcanic eruption external to the AIA itself. The knock-on effects of those carried you into beyond 2021. In 2020, 2021, there are 1 or 2 months where you had a total lockdown, almost, with just about 2,000 passengers a month. We didn't lock down the airport, but other countries locked down on us because of COVID and also subsequently with the volcanic eruptions and Hurricane Elsa. So the period where we had to carry the operations just with subventions, the capitalization of it, went beyond the 4 or 5 years which we had envisaged. But last year, we had a quote-unquote an operating gain, not an overall profit, because you have to pay the debt. And I'll come to that shortly. But had an operating profit of about $2 million. An operating gain, of about $2 million. In other words, AIA was in a situation where it can keep current with all its bills on an ongoing basis. But the government, of course, still paying for capital spending and the servicing of the debt. Because this is a public good. Let me just pause here at the same time to say this. Since AIA, direct tourism investments in St. Vincent Grenadines is about conservatively $1.3 billion. The airport cost $750 million to construct. So, Peter, in terms of investments, by last year, the end of last year, you had nearly twice the extent of that investment in direct touristic investment. I'm talking about hotel accommodation. Sandals alone is a number about $660 million easy. And then, of course, you have Holiday Inn, you have Maya Suite, you have the expansions, for instance, of Hotel Alexandrina, the hotel for the guns,
Beachcombers,
where they have and other places, and lots of guest houses and apartments and so forth. And people must not forget this. There are persons who have converted their homes. Some people who are overseas convert their homes into Airbnbs. And by the way, these Airbnbs, why the hotels have to pay taxes of this kind and that kind, the Airbnbs get away with that. There's a leakage which we have to look at.
Yes.
I think some of our listeners would like to know what is Airbnb.
Or the Airbnb is that there is the people who want to travel fairly cheaply, and they do it mainly by air, clearly. Because those who come by the cruise vessels, they stay on board the cruise vessels. And you get your bed, and maybe you can get your breakfast too. It's a cheap form of clean places now.
Clean, yes.
They have them all over the world now. In fact, there's a company which started to coordinate this thing, and you can book through them. You can go on them. They send people out to see the quality of your accommodation. You send photographs, you send videos and so forth. And they will put you on the list. Now, the debt which we actually owe now on the airport is under $200 million. Because you remember that we also got some debt relief from Venezuela on the Petrocaribe debt, a significant part of which had gone to the Argyle International Airport. If we deal with the debt, and I brought the estimates here because people may say, where are these numbers? First of all, to find out how much the airport costs, go to the Commercial and Intellectual Property Office, SIPO. Some call it SIPO. And you see the closing accounts of the International Airport Development Company, the IADC, done by reputable international auditors.
Prime Minister, why was the decision made to have the company, set up the company and have it run the affairs of the construction of the airport?
It was the better approach than a statutory body.
Okay.
Because you were able to do things swifter and with greater flexibility. And but the accountability is in fact, when you come to the accounting, the auditing of the accounts, for instance, it's more open and transparent than if you do it as a statutory body. Because with a statutory body, you just lay the accounts in Parliament. The accounts are available for you to see. Anybody can walk off the street and pay 50 cents, $1, whatever it costs to go and look at it.
And that is like the operation of any company at all in the country.
Any company in the country. Any company in the country. And
so like you can do it, I can do it,
anybody can go and do it and see it.
Yeah, okay.
Right? Tomorrow morning you can go to SIPO and say you want to see the IADC
latest statement, account,
so the closing state.
Yeah.
You'll see it because, well, the IADC is not operational anymore.
Yeah.
Because a new company was formed called the Argyle International Airport Limited, which is the operational company of the AIA. But the company which built it was the International Airport Development Company, run by, headed at the time by Dr. Matthias. Vincentian was working at an economist who was working at the central bank in Trinidad, and we hired him, and we made him the executive chairman, the chairman and CEO of the company, again for expedition, and with a very good board, including people like Sir Vincent Beach,
Sims Martin.
Sims Martin. You had people from the Ministry of Finance. Camilo, when he was a senior crown counsel in the early days, before he went off to the United States as our permanent representative ambassador to the United Nations and so on. Now, what are the monies which are owed on the AIA? John, if you want, you can leave where you're sitting there, come and see it as I read it here, to see if that's necessary. There, at page 800 of the estimates of expenditure for this year, revenue and expenditure, with the appendix dealing with debt. Here are the debts which are listed. AIA Terminal Building Project, the Mega Bank. The debt which remains as of the 30th of September 2024 is, for that, $13 million. AIA Exim Bank loan, 15 million, just over $15 million remain. Exim Bank loan number 2, just over $9 million. Exim Bank loan for AIA, $20.6 million. You check that up, you will see 20, 29, 39, 39 and 25 is what? That's about 39 and
64?
60 something.
Yeah, 64.
Then Alba Bank, AIA Construction, $81 million. AIA construction loan, for the construction loan, $33.7 million. So that is 114 million. And then you go over to the other page, 801. You see North Star Finance 1, North Star Finance, which is loan number 1, and North Star Trade Finance number 2. For the first one, $3 million remaining, the other one, $3.5 million remaining. And other than those, there are bits and pieces here for a piece of land here, something where people still have to put their title to, and some things which need bits and pieces afterwards. It's a remarkable story. The NDP had said that we had spent at least $1.2 billion. Of course, the value will be that or more. But what we spent on it is $750 million.
Is it possible to get a present value for the airport?
Absolutely, you could get a present value for the airport. So I give that story as to where we are. And we are just 8 years, And remember, 2, 3 of those years, emphatically, we were not doing much at AIA. And as I say, in some months, Could you imagine in some months at AIA during the period of COVID, we didn't have more than 2,000 passengers a month, which is a very small number.
Prime Minister Malan is trying to make the mic more efficient because that one is a little bit away from
Okay,
it.
then,
He's
fine.
going to bring.
Okay,
But we can talk in the meantime.
fine.
Yeah.
But people are hearing me properly.
Yeah, they're hearing you, but not as smoothly as they're hearing me because I'm speaking directly into the mic.
Okay.
So it's going to make it a bit easier for you.
Okay then, thanks.
Yeah.
I should explain that one of the reasons why you had this problem is not so much the fault of the technical people, but they forgot that I don't like to sit down in the soft seats. You know, the deep soft seats. I prefer to sit in a tougher, simpler chair. That's what everybody to realize that.
Right.
Is it holding?
It's. Yeah.
Okay. Is it better now? The problem with this one is that what you may call the neck.
I think it needs to be tightened a bit.
Yes.
And that's right. But we would make the best of.
We getting there now?
We're getting there. Yeah.
Okay, fine, thanks. Now, you may ask, what is North Star Finance?
Yes, I have a note here.
North Star Finance is a finance company in the United Kingdom, which we engaged to go for loans through export-import banking finance arrangements out of the UK, Canada, and the USA. When we had finished, remember this, when we were dealing with the airport, and I made my wrongs, Caribbean Development Bank said no. World Bank said no. European Investment Bank said no. The European Union says no. The agencies of the British, American, Canadian governments, no. In other words, all the quote-unquote traditional sources of financing for projects. They thought, according to one of the diplomats, that they were talking about it and joking behind my back and said that they thought I was like the man from La Mancha. Cervantes, in Cervantes' novel, that I was tilting at windmills. In the language of the NDP here, I was a madman. And his Dr. Debnat should deal with me. If they wanted to make an appointment, they say, at the mental health center for Dr. Debnat, the resident psychiatrist, to talk to me. I'm a crazy man thinking I could build an airport out at Argyle. And I'm leading people for disaster and making them get excited about something which is a complete folly because it's unachievable. That famous in Eustace language. Get the money from where? From where? As late as 2010, while we were 2 years in its operation. So you must remember this. None of these governments wanted to help, but when we were almost finished with everything, the aerodrome, that's to say the runway, done all the preparatory works, And we can come back to all what we had to do to get there. When we had finished building the terminal building, they then were interested in helping us to lend us money to do the air control tower, to buy the 3 fire engines, the big fire engines, to put in the information and telecommunication systems, to put in all the equipment of one kind and furniture and so on and so forth. And that is where North Star Finance came in.
Okay.
So I give you the numbers. They're there inside of the estimates. But if you want to see where we were in 2017, when the accounts were closed for that financial year, for IADC,
Okay.
International Airport Development Corporation, wholly owned state company which built it. Now, you want to know where we are? Let's talk about passengers. Last year, we almost reached 300,000 passengers. The year before, 2023, was almost 224,000 passengers, which passed through the airport. In fact, in December last year alone, we had the highest month ever.
And Prime Minister, we're talking about 2024.
2024, 33,511 passengers passed through AIA. The next highest before that was 2023, when 24,078 passengers passed through. In terms of airline activity, there were 10 airlines plus private aircraft operating as of 2023. But in 2024, there were 13, and I'll come to the various airlines, plus private aircraft. In fact, we have had 4 new airlines coming on. We had Lear 2020. By the way, I should mention, in addition to COVID and all the rest of it, even when we started and opened back, there was no Liat. Liat had collapsed. Liat collapsed under the weight of historical issues, plus COVID, and of course, the Barbados government took the decision that it can no longer be part of it. Barbados was restructuring its financing with the IMF after Mia had come to office now. And they thought that they could have done without Liat in all the circumstances. That's a government decision which was made, and it was just too much of a load for Antigua and St. Vincent and the Grenadines to carry. JetBlue started, Lear 2020 started last year, October the 4th. JetBlue Airways started on October the 9th last year. Direct flight between JFK to AIA. Sunrise Air started in October the 28th last year, and Win Air started on November the 16th. No. Additionally, there were more flights from AIA. You remember? You featured it too on your program on Saturday, December the 7th. 3 AA flights from 3 major cities: Charlotte, North Carolina, New York, JFK, and of course, Miami. In terms of planes, the actual aircraft flight operations, we have seen significant growth. Last year, we had 6,033 flights in and out of AIA, including 756 flights in December alone. It compares favorably with the year before. 2023 with 5,160 flights and with 620 in December alone. In terms of, well, naturally, with the increase in the number of flights, more planes and everything happening, we have to hire another 100 workers, you know.
Oh.
So we are about 430 odd workers right there now. As I talk, if since the last time they gave me the number, if they hired any more in this year, if I'm Josette Graves, the CEO is listening, she can call in and say what the number is, but that's the last number they gave me. And let me say this. During 2020 and 2021, when the passenger load was very low, because the reasons which I just mentioned, I can give the data. In 2020, just over 81,000 passengers came in and out of AIA. In 2021, 55,000, sorry. Compared to 2019 of 251,000. So you notice the dramatic fall. But yet, in those years, we never laid off anybody. We never laid off the workers. And I don't know if the union takes that for granted. I don't know if the workers take that for granted, but it should not be taken for granted. And let me just say this. For this year, 2025, workers had an agreement, the union, it's the public service union, which represents the workers there. And I always was in favor of the workers being unionized. I'm a labor man, I'm a union man, but everybody has to be responsible. And we have to work good with one another. For this year, they were supposed to get a 1.5% increase. The chairman of the board and the CEO asked me if, off our own, if I would agree to them to give in what the civil servants got this year, 2.5. I said, go ahead. I said, give me the notice to see how you can afford it and so on. They send me the note. I said, fine with me.
And the reaction of the union?
Well, I don't know if they tell them yet.
Okay.
This just recently happened. I don't know if they told them yet. I suspect they probably have told them. But you don't see good news like that, eh? No.
Except it happens on Easter time.
Eh?
Easter time.
Yeah, it's your hand to bring the good news. No, total revenues increased from $18.3 million, and I'm using wrong numbers, last year, 2023, to $28 million in 2024. Of course, this was due mainly to increase in airport service charge. You got to remember, we had dropped it in COVID. Remember we did that? Mm-hmm. And we carried it back to pre-COVID in 2023. And we subsequently increased it by another $15 in June 2024. And in fact, we are still one of the lowest in the region in terms of the airport service charge. In terms of revenues from ground handling, it increased by 20% over 2023, from $7.8 million to $9.4 million. And Salaries increased by about 7% to nearly $11 million for the year 2024. As I say, we had another 100 persons to help to sustain the operations as flights increase. Then repairs and maintenance expenses also show increases in previous years, over the previous year. Overall expense increased by about 6% last year over 2023.
The revenue guarantee, is that credited to the...
Yes, the revenue guarantee has to be done through the airport.
Okay.
But you see, if you... There are airlines like AIA, the revenue guarantee is not triggered. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're performing fairly well.
Okay.
No. If I just go into what we are, some of the things.
Please, I wanted to go back to the passengers before you go on to that. You called some numbers. If you could give us a total, because it sounds to me like we're reaching near 1 million, and I'm suggesting...
No, these are annual numbers. 200, nearly 300,000 moving through annually. That's in and out.
I understand.
Yeah.
But you have any plans to recognize 1 million visitor, million passenger?
We would have... I think we would have gone 3, 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah, we'd have gone over 1 million.
It would be a good idea.
We've gone over 1 million already.
If you could recognize the million
we've gone over
passenger.
that already.
Peter, you're talking about
from 2017.
Since the beginning.
Since 2017.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm giving the wrong numbers. You can 2017 was about 227,000.
Okay.
Well, if you take out January and February, which was 17,000, which came from Arnesville, and take out half of February, so that'd be 25. So 2017 would have been about 200,000 passengers. Then 240 in 2018. So that's 440. 251 in 2019. Then between 2020 and 2021 together would have been 136,000. In 2022, 148,000. 2023, 224,000. And 2024, 283,000.
So we passed 1 million.
So passed 1 million.
Passed 1 million earlier. It would have been good to recognize 1 million person.
No. I want to talk about some things because, look, when I hear the opposition talk about accountability and transparency, I'm responsible for a number of things as government. I'm talking the political arm of the government. And I'm responsible also overall to see that the administrative arm of the government functions properly. Of course, I can't put a gun to a man's head to do something. But so I'm dealing first with my responsibilities, providing leadership through legislation. We repeal the old 1960 Finance Act and had the Financial Administration Act of 2004 with comprehensive regulations strengthening accountability and control and transparency in dealing with government finances. Then we pass a new Audit Act, enlarging the powers of the Director of Audit. And then I'm talking in relation to government operations. Then thirdly, we passed a new Procurement Act, which strengthened, expanded immensely the measures of independence and control, independence and transparency, good governance in relation to procurements. One aspect of that which is required to be done is for the leader of the opposition to call meetings of the Public Accounts Committee. But that's a separate issue. I'm not going to dwell on that today, but I just mentioned that to show you. And for the state enterprises, and particularly so the major ones, you want to be on top to make sure that their accounts are audited. You take the NIS. The NIS accounts, by June, July of a succeeding year, they're inside of Parliament. The same thing happened with Vinlec. We can go to SIPO and see them. The same thing happened, with CWSA, we lay them also in that time period. So I give examples. The AIA, and this is a report which they sent to me. By the way, every month I get a report from the Chief Executive Officer, and I read it. And having read it and studied it, I call her on the phone or go and see her. She comes to look for me and the chairman. I have the report already for January. There was a mistake on the cover here, January 2024, but this is January 2025. You see there's a mark there, but this is January. By the end of this month, I'll get another report. P. John, I don't do my work by guess. Okay? They're responsible for managing. I'm responsible for overseeing, and I have to report to my colleagues in cabinet for matters under my portfolio, and the airport is one under my portfolio, and I have to report to the Parliament. And I discuss these things in my budget address. I don't know how many persons paid attention, but I always make sure that I provide the information. No. The financial audits, they tell me for 2021 and 2022 are completed. And the audited statements for 23 would be dealt with, and then naturally go to 24. What are some things which happened last year? So that you get an idea as to, we take safety and security very seriously, including emergency operations. Last year on May the 24th, we did a comprehensive emergency simulation exercise, testing and improving our airport emergency response protocols to ensure readiness for various scenarios. You might have recalled, some people thought when we were doing the simulation was that something happened at the AIA, but it was a simulation. We were pretending as if something happens, how we will respond. Then, of course, there's some things which you have to remember last year. We celebrated the arrival of a male and a female pilot the first time from AIA.
I mean, Vinci female.
Vinci female, and Vinci male. Last year, in January, we hosted at the airport the SILA CARICOM Summit, joint over Venezuela and Guyana, with I being the pro tempore president of CELAC, chairing the proceedings, and we brought about the Argyle Declaration. Memorably, it carries the name of Argyle. I didn't want it to carry any other name. It happens there. I see a letter the other day from the Commonwealth Secretariat to all the Commonwealth heads of government about matters between Venezuela and Guyana, speaking very favorably about the Argyle Declaration. Then, I don't know if you realize, we have opened out there with Sandals, a Sandals meet and greet lounge, where they provide an elevated experience for arriving and departing passengers, enhanced comfort, convenience, for travelers coming there, arriving there, leaving for Sandals. Then, in April, May last year, AIA successfully completed negotiations with the Public Service Union. Remember, there were some outstanding payments to staff and smooth out industrial relations generally. Remember the last time I was on the radio here? Remember when the Public Service Union was threatening to go on strike out there? I say, well, the leadership can tell the people at Argyle to go on strike. But I'm 100% sure that the vast majority of the workers will not do a thing like that. Because whatever difficulty there is, we should be able to settle them. That's why I like to have a union, but the union has to behave responsibly too. And what are you going to do on a marginal issue? To lock down a lifeblood? And that's why I had made that point. Then, remember the number of persons we had to deal with there when we had 33 heads of state and government and other representatives in the end of February, beginning of March for CELAC, the summit down at Bukamen, down at Sandals. Cricket World Cup, T20, and then the Bangladesh. In other words, there's important milestones last year, but some strategic plans in going forward. For 2025, enhanced customer service offerings. We're going to launch an executive lounge designed to enhance passenger comfort and to provide hopefully a serene environment for relaxation and work. The lounge will feature premium amenities, comfortable seating, complimentary refreshments, high-speed Wi-Fi, dedicated workspaces. Overall, a pleasant experience for travelers.
And would this lounge...
You would have to pay a fee to go into the lounge.
So, right, but would it be available to all passengers?
Everybody, anybody who wants to pay a fee to get a superior service.
Okay.
It happens at airports all over the world.
Mm-hmm. So this is different from the airline itself.
But
the airline itself is not.
No, not the airline is not doing it. We doing
AIA
it.
doing it.
AIA doing it.
Okay, all right.
There are two additional restaurants offering diverse culinary options. In fact, one of them I think has opened already. Then we are going to deploy more advanced technology aimed at capturing real-time passenger feedback, putting in digital kiosks and mobile applications. So this will allow for immediate insights into customer experiences, enabling the management team to make timely and strategic improvements in service delivery based on the input from the travelers themselves. We are ramping up our maintenance program. In fact, we have had restructuring of that maintenance division, and we are hiring more personnel. We had difficulties recruiting a mechanical engineer, and we want to have others too. additional engineers, and we are working out something with the Cuban government. You notice that
Okay,
some
I
of them
noticed
had
it
arrived.
in the picture. Prime Minister, anything on the parking arrangement? Because I remember
I will come
getting
to
to
that.
that.
Yes. Then, because and I want to talk a little bit more about maintenance shortly, but I'm just giving the bullet points so that persons can know the matters on which we are highlighting. We are going to review the existing master plan outline which we got from the Professor Federico from Mexico at the time when we had the AIA. Remember, the Mexican government had assisted us with the professor to do a master plan, but we want to do a review of it and a master plan study addressing the long-term developmental growth and infrastructure needs of AIA. We are strengthening adherence to aviation safety, security, operational standards to meet the regulatory requirements and to enhance operational excellence. And naturally, we have to deal with human resource development because people had to run the airport. We're prioritizing training programs for staff to build capacity and maintain high standards of service. We want to build a more professional outfit. And importantly, too, we want to implement a group medical and life insurance plan to enhance employees' welfare and satisfaction. Now, recently TSA came, the Transport and Safety Administration, and the Transport and Safety Administration, they did their review, and the review is a review which is favorable. What the Transport and Safety Administration does, they will come. The TSA doesn't have any jurisdiction over our airport. It's the Eastern Caribbean Civil Aviation Authority working under the guidelines and the regulations of the International Civil Aviation Organization. But you have to be practical. A main source market is the United States of America. And they want to know when their airlines are going places. Traveling, we have American airline coming. We have JetBlue. We have CAL, which is doing New York, AIA. All those are subjected to TSA, the Transport and Safety Administration, which feeds into the Federal Aviation Agency. Now, you would want them to come and you would want them to give you a favorable report. Because if the report is bad, and they just came, if the report is bad, they're going to it's going to affect whether the airlines come, whether they come as frequently, they have to come with more insurance, which means more costly costly travel and so on. Now, in Parliament, I have my notes here, and I will go. I will just highlight the notes which I had here on the matter of air transport. Sorry, the airports. Just bear with me. Let me find the page with my notes. Airport administration. In our budget for 2025, we have 10 capital projects in here dealing with airports, airport administration. Some of them relate to AIA and some to the rest of the Grenadines. I'll only highlight those which relate to AIA. Purchase of a new electrical generator for AIA. Improvement of airfield ground lighting, the AGL systems at AIA. That project is a $1.5 million project. We are spending about half of that this year, the rest next year. Then AIA pavement rehabilitation, because you have to be rehabilitating the pavement on an ongoing basis. We had put, 2 years ago, we had put a project of nearly $4 million. We spent $2.2 million already. This year, there's $1.2 million. In fact, as soon as the budget was passed, they got in, the people at AIA got in touch with DIPCON. But I myself got in touch with Ian Singh. I said, Ian, you went and did some work last year. You had to go back. They didn't get back on, I want you to go there for me now. So they went and they did. They went on 1-2 nights, did some work. That's before all this thing about whether there's something to be done here or something be done there. And then he has to go back and complete some works. And this is something which we have on an ongoing basis. Then I'm going to, in fact, we signed a contract with DIPCON to repave the entire Alpha taxiway and to repair about 75% of the taxiway Charlie. And I'll come back as to what work, which is what is there. It's fine using it because there's no problem, but we want to make sure that it is constantly being done wherever it is required, because it's out there in the elements for any aerodrome. And what I ask persons to do, if you're a pilot of an SVG plane, registered plane, for instance, that's your bread and butter. You're a patriot, you're partisan, and you see anything which, say, well, boy, I wonder if the maintenance people saw this. Just tell them, no? Then the other one, we're doing an AIA cargo facility upgrade. There's a project cost of $1.2 million. So far, we have had the drawings for the facility completed. A firm from the Republic of China Taiwan ARCH design and consultancy firm. They already selected at a particular cost of nearly $100,000 to complete designs and to prepare tenders documents for the facility's construction. Hopefully, we can get to some of the construction this year. Then there's another. We are procuring maintenance equipment for AIA at a project cost of just over $2 million. This year, we're going to spend $631,000. So far, we have procured an enclosed cabin tractor. We signed a contract valued at $422,000 with OLD ACH trading, all that's training for the supply of AC conductors and AC condensers and evaporators. And we have money in the budget out of the $631,000, which I'm just mentioned for this year, to procure one boom lift, a grass cutting tractor and cutter, and a power takeoff, a PTO sweeper for AIA, because the sweeper which we have, it's working, but it has some limitations.
And that sweeper is to sweep the runway.
Sweep the runways. It is being used, but they have to spend a little longer time in sweeping because one part of it is defective or not optimal. And we have money inside of here for purchase. If people listen, then a further one for AIA, airport aviation security equipment and CCTV upgrade, $1.5 million. We have spent over $400,000 out of this already. And we have $1.1 million this year to do this. At the moment, the equipment which we require is to trace detection machines, and I'm talking about those for AIA. CCTV system upgrade at AIA. And already we have a contract signed with Sectors Technologies for nearly $500,000 to supply 2 X-ray machines and 2 walk-through metal detector machines. We have a contract with Unique Alliance Limited to supply and install a CCTV system upgrade at AIA, and so forth. Now, I want to make a general point about. Let me just say some things which we are doing. When I talk about the runway things which we're dealing with DIPCON. Over the past few months, a contractor has been replacing rusty fence poles and panels, and that will continue and be accelerated.
And this is the fence that encloses the
fence that encloses. Vegetation maintenance inside and outside the perimeter fence. Runway taxiway and apron markings. Make sure that they're always fresh and visible. There is a part of there was some roof damage by Hurricane Beryl, which is being dealt with, not major. Rust control on the terminal building. They've developed a plan to address the rust control because it's a windswept area. On the structure of the terminal building, and they're putting out, if they haven't put out already, a request for proposals and RFP for airside doors procurement, because there's some doors, it's a few years to replace some where there may be a little problem with the door closing tightly. Or repair of the toilets and faucets and urinals throughout the building. Landside road maintenance. Now, in addition, of course, we're talking about this addition to the capital projects which I've just spoken about. Now, let me just say this. Even in addition to hiring the persons whom we have hired, we have given, this is a job description for a facilities manager. There are different persons responsible for maintenance, different things. But we want somebody to envelop everything and to be coordinating better and report directly to the CEO. Just after the budget was passed, I had the CEO come in and talk to me. This is the result of our discussion I have in my hand. We dealt with the monument which we were in unveil on the 14th.
Oh, nice.
The one.
And that
Some things with DIPCON and I'll come back to something important here generally with the maintenance. The capital projects, and for us to move quickly through the procurement board, the salary increment, which I just spoke to you about, so I gave her the okay on. The facility maintenance, the recruitment of a facility manager. She updated me on the TSA audit. There were only 3 deficiencies which were identified. The previous one, there were 10. What happens? They will, of course, there are places where you have bundles of deficiencies. But what TSA does, they tell us, they say, listen, we think you should be doing that better. And so on. We proceed right away and we sort it out. So when they come back to us, they see we're listening to them and doing the work. And they want the quality assurance program to be formally reviewed and make sure that it is followed. There was something which should have been done. There was some overgrown vegetation on the fence. Instructions were given for the persons to fix that, But this is the detail that the FSA goes, the TSA goes through, And then there was the third one was to beef up our internal audits and testing system. Internal safety audits now and testing systems. And then, of course, I discussed with her the technical assistants from Cuba and what are the various positions that persons we needed to recruit and their salaries, and the question of the purchasing of certain items of ground handling equipment, like in addition to what we have in the budget, tow bars and accessories, ground supply vehicles, laboratory truck, electrical baggage tractors, conveyor belts, baggage carts, things of routine things now. Some additional aircraft handling equipment, safety and support systems, and then of course the Tommy Hilfiger. We operate Canawan, the AIS oversight of Canawan too. They'll be hosting an event on March the 28th, towards the end of the March. As part of the event, they wanted permission, in addition to our flag being flown, they wanted to fly their flag on one of the flagpoles.
And that
down
is
at Canawan.
Canawan.
Yeah. Which, well, I was in Canawan yesterday because I went down for several reasons, but also to talk to those who are organizing. There are going to be some big events in Canawan between March and April.
Okay.
And continuing. So that's the story. No. I want the whole of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to understand something. One of the problems, you've heard me talk about this before, one of the problems we have, Pigeon, Cecil, is availability of aggregate. Of course, to have the aggregates, you have to have quarry, and you have to have the plant to produce the aggregate. And when you get the aggregate, you need an asphalt plant for the mix, because you're mixing the aggregate with call it the oil. And the plant does that, the asphalt plant does that. So you need the aggregate, the quarry, the plant to grind the quarry stone. You get the type of aggregate. You have to have an asphalt plant. No. There is one asphalt plant. Well, there's a small one otherwise, but they have a problem with the quality. But the asphalt plant on which everybody depends in St. Vincent and Grenadines, Dipcon owns it. Historically, having more than one asphalt plant of a particular size would be too much on a general basis. Sometimes you may need more aggregate, and therefore more asphalt, more asphalt. The facility with the product which comes out to apply either on the road or the airport, the airport runway. So you just have this plant. But the plant has to operate with the aggregate. This year so far, the two plants you have to produce the aggregate. Bragsa has a thing where he does for itself, but the two plants you have are really one Cow Williams plant and one for Adem. That's the people who own this Laview.
Oh yes.
And that's Laview Hotel, and had set up a plant because they are doing the project at Villa on the hill over Calico. Cow Williams' own hasn't operated maybe 1 week for the year so far. There's a problem with a part. The part came in, the part is wrong. That's what I'm told. Not the right plant. Not the right part. I didn't talk to the people themselves, but I talked to somebody who buys from them. Renault, I saw Renault 2 weeks ago. Renault says that his operation should start to produce aggregate in March. 2 weeks ago, he said 6 weeks. So 6 weeks would take us into March. If you have to import, well, we have a budget of $2 million in the Ministry of Works to import aggregate. Because if you don't import the aggregate, you're going to have problems in getting the work done. You can't get work done without the aggregate and without the asphalt plant. And the asphalt plant, if it doesn't get the aggregate, that's a problem. DIPCON has applied for duty-free concessions in respect of the aggregate and for port charges. Bringing the aggregate from outside of St. Vincent, they sent numbers to me, would increase the cost by over 90%. Transportation and the cost of the aggregate transportation and other charges. So we are helping at our end in giving the concessions to lessen the extent of the cost. They are bringing in a barge with 3,700 metric tons next weekend. This is how you have to do your work in a small island, developing country where you're having so much construction and a lack of capacity. No, fellas, you put down another asphalt plant. It would have work this year for two to operate. But would you have work next year for two to operate? Is you mean, Pijan?
Yeah.
Franco had one, Franco sold theirs because they made money for a period of time, and then when there's a lull, from the days of Jesco, before Bragsa, remember that company which the old Labour Party, the former Labour Party had set up? James Mitchell them closed down. Remember that? Or the Rabbit of All, remember they closed down the stone crushers, they just got a plant. No. The airport, we had brought an asphalt plant to do the paving, but it did a lot of runs, and then Bragsa ran it for a little while. It got worn out. So a lot of aggregate is bought by Bragsa. A lot of asphalt is bought by Bragsa from DIPCON. Bragsa gets its own plant. You could see what that can do with the demand by DIPCON. Size is an important factor in all of this thing, So when you hear I talk about capacity in both the private and public sectors, I'm talking about, and constraints. There's a big construction boom going on now. No, DIPCON is getting in the 3,700 tons, metric tons approximately. Each metric ton, Pijan is 2,205 pounds each metric ton. The usual long ton is what? 2,240. Anyway, those who
2040.
yeah. So they're bringing that in. But what they're bringing in next weekend, which is coming in, is for the base. They're not going to get the aggregate to do additional work on the airport, the part which they need to, which is okay. But we want to make sure that it's always done. That's coming in 2 weeks' time. Because, yes, in order to expedite these things, I say every time you bring in a badge, just send me the information, because I already have it approved by cabinet. I will just give the instruction that it is just a rolling approval. But we just want to know when you come so that we inform the port and the customs. When people in down in Richmond, when a handful of people go in without a sufficient understanding and don't want Renault to operate, if they were to succeed with that, understand the implications for the delivery of aggregate for many projects in the country, Pijan. Clearly, any operation have to comply with the approvals and have an environmental impact assessment study and the independent body of the the physical planning board that has to be involved, and all of those things. And once all those things are done, you may have a difference with it, but you don't allow your politics to interfere, your partisan politics to undermine something which, if you don't do it, you're going to get the roads done.
But would it also affect the airport repair?
It would. Because DIPCON has to know, I just told you, they didn't get anything from Cow Williams plant. I'm talking the raw aggregate, so that they can put them with the oils, the mixtures, whatever it is, through their asphalt plant to get the material. And that material has to be tested at a particular grade to be applied in the contractual terms at the airport or any road for that matter, because different roads would have different criteria for the quality of the materials which you're putting in. A farm road is a different thing than a highway, for instance. Common sense would tell you that. What I want to make an appeal to public servants about is this. I noticed today, I'm talking solutions. I'm talking about how we do our work, how we do our business. What we do is not by accident, There's a man who never run anything in their entire life, or don't know how these things are connected to one another. I hear them talk. Ex cathedra, they just run them out. It doesn't happen in hot air. You have to know what you're doing, and you have to exercise leadership properly. No. When DIPCON, for instance, works at AIA, it is important that DIPCON be paid on a timely basis. And it can only be paid on a timely basis if, when the AIA submits the information to works. You may ask, well, why is it? You have the engineer out there. They see everything is done in order. It is double-checked by the engineers at works. Because works issues the certificate of completion so that you can trigger the payment from the Ministry of Finance. So if the airport authority and the airport AIA, they do their work on time and they send this information to works. But the engineer or engineers who are supposed to deal with this matter there, they have to go and see that what the people at AIA say, how it was done, that it's done in order so that they can be paid. Now, I have seen the information is submitted. It's 2-3 items they have to check. I don't know if it would take an hour. But sometimes fellas have to wait for months because the certificate is not prepared.
And the Prime Minister's certificate is prepared at the Ministry
Of Works.
of Works.
Remember, I just told you here, and I want to. This is what I said in Parliament. This is what I just read to you. This is what I tell you, I'll come back to it. I said there's an AIA pavement rehabilitation project, $3.867, nearly $4 million. We have spent $2.2 million thus far. Out of this particular project, it will then be ruled again at a higher level, obviously, because things are more expensive every time. So we're spending 1.2 now. I said a contract has been signed by DIPCON in the amount of 3.86 million. That's the total contract. Repairing of the entire Alpha Taxiway and repairing approximately 75% of Taxiway Charlie. In that contract, the Ministry of Works has to do the assessment to see that the work is done properly in accordance with the specifications, and they issue the certificate of completion so that that certification of completion comes to the permanent secretary for the Ministry of Airports, who happens to be the cabinet secretary at my office, who then sends that with the request for payment from the Ministry of Finance. Then the check is sent to Treasury. The information is sent to Treasury.
Prime Minister, the preparation of that certificate is about a 1 hour, 1.5 hours
Well,
job.
I don't think that work shouldn't take anybody, a serious professional, long. But sometimes fellas sit on these things. And then I had to tell a man, well, go ahead and do it for me, man. I give him a word that you're going to get paid. So I'm people hear me talking more and more these days. I don't have any at my age and my length of time in this business, and like I'm a patriarch in the system, I don't have any dog hunting in this business other than the interests of the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, for whom I've given my life. Thus far, I will continue to do so. No, you asked me to start at the end.
Yes.
But the story can't complete unless I go to the beginning.
Yes.
Because you suspect probably if I talk at the beginning, I mightn't get sufficient to where we are today. But that's why I came prepared both to talk. I suspected that you will want me to talk about the end first. I came prepared to talk about the end. More things can be said the way we are, what we are doing. But I want to remind everybody, and I want the young people in particular to hear me, and some who are old enough have amnesia, but I just want to remind them that we just take with some things physical. When we are going through the road you drive through now from town going to country, and the road that you drive...
Is it Windward Country?
Windward Country, okay. Windward Country, when you go into Windward. The road that you drive above the airport, to the left of the airport when you go in Windward. Like $6 million US. That didn't exist, you know. When you go in country, you have to drive close to Bayside, which is now below the airport. But because all that area is now including much of the airport perimeter, takes up a lot of that area. And in fact, we had to do a separate road, which cost, I think it might have been $3 million, $4 million. The one below the airport, below the end of the runway, which goes wrong into the people who live in the Argyle community below the airport.
You mean Mount Pleasant?
Mount Pleasant,
yeah.
Mount Pleasant.
Yeah.
No. But just to say that there's two Mount Pleasant, there's that Mount Pleasant and Mount Pleasant in Mespo.
Yes.
Gusta's Mount Pleasant and Jimmy Mount Pleasant is two different Mount Pleasant. No. Some people don't know that exists.
I know.
What you see there, some people come by and think that the airport does drop like manna from heaven. We had at that time, when we arrived in office, remember this, everybody, from the time of universal adult suffrage in 1951, everybody was popularly elected. One man, one vote from 1951. We're going to bring you an international airport. And that got more intense, that discussion, as we moved towards statehood in 1969, and then, of course, independence in 1979. But nobody before Ralph and the ULP built the airport. And that, it wasn't done because it wasn't easy. There were two sites from there. There's a mountain of studies going back from the 70s on airport development in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Discussion about extending E.T. Joshua to Annisville. Tell you no, not technically feasible for an international airport. Even for a jet airport, you have problems. 2/3 of the time, you have to, because of the wind factor, you will not be able to have a passenger load in a 120 passenger jet, more than 70. That's what they study. And that's what is required for it. The cost of acquiring the real estate, and to put in that, it wouldn't be worth it. Bam! So that's Annisville out of the picture. Though, of course, because James Mitchell, towards the end of his term, nothing was done with airport development in St. Vincent. The only thing he did Beckway, and he extended Union Island. We did Union Island, because there was a Union Island airport before.
And didn't he do something in Kanawha?
No, we did Kanawha.
Entirely.
We did Kanawha. We did Kanawha. Minor improvements he did at Kanawha. It wasn't significant. We did Kanawha. We did Kanawha. His major work was what they named it the James J.F. Mitchell Airport. If I may say parenthetically, many people, including from within my party, Sir Louis Straker, for instance, once got up in Parliament to say this airport should be called the Ralph E. Gonzalez International Airport. I remember I locked him down on that because even Leacock says he wouldn't oppose that and so on. I'm a simple boy from Connery. I don't want nothing named after me while I'm alive. When I'm dead, you can do what you want. It wouldn't matter to me because I wouldn't know. So it's a simple position I have. The studies showed, I said that parenthetically, the studies showed that there were two possible sites. The site which is called Kitchen, which is technically a feasible site, but far more expensive than Argyle. The property acquisition would have been much more costly.
And for the benefit of listeners, BM, could you say where
Kitchen is? Kitchen is the site where you come from, where Kelly Glass Hotel is there at that promontory which is out there. Mm-hmm. As you come in Ratomil, Villa Ratomil.
Across Fort Duvenet.
You're coming across there, mm-hmm. and a number of houses on the promontory there, but you'd have to go a lot out in the sea. You'd have destroyed the coral. It would have been a complete mess. You read it, the consultants tell you, yes, you can do it, but it would be hugely expensive. They gave the numbers. 750 million at Argyle. It had been twice that at Kitchen. And then you'd have destroyed a lot of the area where you had to, which is a hotel area.
And also fishing ground for fishers.
All sorts of things. Real problems. Environmental problems have been severe. Or Argyle, which they also said was very difficult. Because you had two mountains and two big hills. You had 4 valleys. You had to fill the valleys, bring the mountains down. You had to span a stream and a river. You had to move 140 middle and upper middle income houses and cause them to be built elsewhere. You had to move a small hotel, 2 guest houses. You had to move a church and a cemetery and build them elsewhere. You had to make sure that the petroglyphs which were there, you couldn't mow down the place and be a barbarian and consign the petroglyphs to the dust. So you had to wait until you could get somebody to help you with those. And of course, when we went into the river, we found other petroglyphs. That is for starters. That's why people say it was impossible to be done. But I realize that in order to make a paradigm shift in the to the colonial, amended colonial economy, in addition to your education revolution and other things accompanying human resource development, like health and sports and culture and housing, you had to have an international airport here, and you had to have a jet airport in Canouan. And I set about to do both of them. Canouan was easier and far cheaper. We did that. And then we studied these reports. And we asked Marshall, Macklin, and Mohanan to give an update on one of their reports. They gave. I said, don't go through all the other details which you cover. Give us an update. Costings, possibly, and any other new material which comes to light. And then, while that was going on, I'm going around hawking. Caribbean Development Bank, World Bank, European Union, European Investment Bank, British government, American government, the government of Canada. The answer is no. Man from La Mancha, tilting at windmills. That didn't daunt me. Every single CARICOM meeting, I raised it. Until every time I raise it, my friend from the Bahamas, Ingram, will start to laugh. Was then Prime Minister. Incidentally, I was just checking. In CARICOM, for the 14 independent countries plus Montserrat, it's 59 leaders I've dealt with. Taking out the prime ministers in Guyana, I use the presidents there. I use the presidents and prime ministers in Haiti because sometimes you had no president because of the confusion. 59 leaders since I became prime minister in the region, in CARICOM, that is. When we reached the stage where I felt we had enough seed money and I put things in place, I went on August the 8th, 2005, my birthday, to deliver our plan to the people of St. Vincent Grenadines as to how we're going to build this airport. Why we can't do Arnesfield? By the way, read James Mitchell's autobiography, Beyond These Islands, about the confusion in the NDP over airport development. They had no agreement at all. Total confusion. Some people say don't do anything. Mitchell said we gotta do the best we can do is to do a little something at Arnesfield, which ain't gonna be much. John Hahn saying do kitchen. Mitchell asked me, where you gonna get the money from? No. Nobody know how to do anything. We read these things. I went to the cabinet, Vince Beach, myself, and Sims Martin, and Julian Francis. We said, we have been looking at this thing. Talk with Jeffrey Cato, who was engineer in economic planning, formerly chief engineer. Said, look, this is the only way we can go. Argyle. I got to go ahead. As I say, all these places, the traditional sources said no. And then I start to go about writing letters, setting up to meet people. Eventually, these are the following. I went to places beyond these, but there are 10 countries which we got help from. Cuba, Venezuela, Trinidad and Tobago, Mexico, Turkey, Austria, Georgia,
Libya
under Gaddafi, Iran under Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. Got from the CARICOM Development Fund, which is part of the CARICOM arrangements. Did I miss anybody? If I miss anybody, I'm sorry. I'm just calling them off the top of my head now.
Well, of course, the Republic of China and Taiwan.
And then Taiwan. Absolutely. Taiwan. So, how did we start? When I went to China, to Taiwan, Republic of China, Taiwan, in May 2001, I raised the matter as an aspirational matter with President Chen. I said, listen, I'll come back to you on this when we have studied it, but we need to have an airport and I need your help on it, international airport. He said, well, when you're ready, and so on. And we dealt with other things immediately. And then by 2005, we're pretty much ready. And we had been communicating, and the foreign minister had come by. I had visited after 2001 also. And then I invited him to come here in 2005, October. Well, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Let me just go back. I delivered my presentation on the August the 8th, 2005.
What does the Methodist Church Hall? Was it
Methodist Church Hall. The opposition said that they would respond to what I'm saying in 2 weeks. They never responded. They started to snipe, opposing, leading people to expectations that it's impossible, it's a folly, Ralph is a crazy man. In any case, he's one-term papa. Or you know, in December, we're going to get rid of he. Because elections are coming up in December. And I'm talking 2005. The night before President Chen came, I want young people to know this, and those who had forgotten, I want to remind them. They had a candlelight march, NDP, from Sion Hill to Kingston and held a rally. Ostensibly about poverty. So that's bareface, you know. Poverty had been assessed at 37% of the population, and indigence, dirt poor poverty of 26% under them. But I'm in office for 4 years and they were marching about poverty. They had the honesty, however, to say a week or so afterwards, the poverty was the reason they gave. But the reason what they really wanted to give was to tell the Taiwanese president not to give Ralph any help with this airport because they're opposed to it. It's folly. In any event, he's one-term papa, he's coming to the end of his road. Everybody, go back, read the newspapers. They want to forget that. It's report, all of that is reported. I reported to the people about the conclusions of my discussion with Fidel and with Chavez. President Chen came and gave a commitment that we will be helped with both grants and loans. And the subsequent presidents in Taiwan, well, he had 2 terms, and then President Ma came, because President Ma became president in 2008, left in 2016. So both under Chen and Ma, we got grants and loans. I just say at the beginning of the program, gave you the extent of the loans remaining $60 million, whatever that is, from Taiwan funds.
Yes.
For the airport. Then I got Patrick Manning by 2008 to agree to 10 million US. A startup money. Got Fidel had agreed with me that his technical people will do the design for the aerodrome free of cost. That's about $10 million US in technical work. Because they came down, did all the studies and so forth. President Chavez deputed Foreign Minister Maduro to work with me on the equipment, $10 million worth of heavy-duty equipment. Remember when we brought them, some of them were second-hand, some were new. They had to leave Camden Park to go to Annisville, to go to Argyle. They say, I bring a whole set of old second-hand equipment, paint them over. I want to fool people, it's nonsense, and so on and so on. They even complained. Why is it that we had to drive these items in the road during the week? Why not on a Sunday? They're the same one who said not no equipment coming, And when the equipment came, they say it's old equipment. So I wanted people to see the equipment. They say I had red flag on them. Well, the police say must put red flag on a vehicle because that's what you always put when you're having heavy-duty equipment moving. I want people to know how they sniped and opposed me at every... And while they were doing that, seeing if they can get involved in a conspiratorial manner to see if they could bring an end to Ralph's government, attacking Ralph personally in some of the most nefarious ways, making accusations against me which were false. All that I had to endure, Then we set up the IADC. We set up national properties. We put government lands inside of those. We borrowed 30 million EC dollars from First Caribbean International Bank for properties purchased, properties sold. Could pay for properties out there and to get some extra money. That's how we started, Plus our own technical people. And the Cubans sent in workers, the Venezuelans sent in technical people. That is how it started off. I couldn't wait to say until I told the country, honestly, Taiwan gave $10 million up front to US. I said, I cannot tell you I have all the money. Because to build this thing, I can't get all the money. I said, this thing going to cost $500, $600, $700 million. I can't tell you I have all the money, but I'm going there. I'm getting it. Day by day, sweet Jesus. I had hope. I had faith. And I'm building it with love. And going the solidarity. Although I got support from 10 countries, I went to dozens. Some said, well, later on, when you build it, we could get involved in it. They can, all kind of thing. That's that there. They mocked us. The mockery turned into anger, into conspiracy. Just like what? As I repeated it over and over. Sanballat and Tobiah and Geshem of Arabia and the Ammonites. What they did to the prophet builder Nehemiah when he rebuilt the city walls around Jerusalem after it had been broken for 21 years. When we're building this thing, remember, Pijan, what they say? A grade in the place to plant groundnuts. Then they say it's a golf course. Airport is impossible. Even as late as 2015, when we were just the elections, December 2015, where we were just 1 year and 2 months away from opening it, the NDP put in their manifesto that they have to pause the project take a few months to have a consultants, different groups of consultants study it carefully. Because this thing will not finish in this way that Ralph is doing it. That the earliest that this could possibly finish is 2020, and they would have to finish it, and it would cost in excess of $1.5 billion because we had already spent 1.2 according to them. It doesn't matter how much you told them, no, that's not what the case. They just lied. And then when Friday became leader, when I went back to Parliament, and every time I go to Parliament for money, to take loan agreements and the like from Taiwan, and oh, you're doing it without transparency. You know, this is a waste of time. The dance can't pay for the light. Read the Hansards. Every species of attack. But they couldn't beat me down. Because I had the faith and I had the hope and I had the love. We had a plan. Then I went to Parliament and said, well, I need the approval for the money because we have to, among other things, I have to build jet bridges. Put on 2 of them. They cost $1 million US a piece, plus the installation monies. Friday said that if I ain't waste enough money already, that I'm a man with champagne taste and Marby pocket. Barbados don't have any. Grenada don't have any jet bridges. Antigua at the time ain't got no jet bridges. He says, Brimish eye Brimish is fresh eye fresh. That's how they mock me, you know. And they were joined in chorus by all sorts of columnists. All the commentators, some of them now dead. And then 2 weeks before we opened, Friday, as leader of the opposition, wrote Eastern Caribbean Civil Aviation Authority telling them that this airport is not safe. Remember, Glenn Stewart had said that nothing will come there by the current alignment. That's why they have to. He went with his leader to a town hall meeting in New York. I said, Glenn is not an aeronautical engineer. We know about these things. He's a structural engineer. That's the dragged out pilots who say political pilots. Some of them who still can't reconcile themselves with the airport, even though they're making a living off of it. That nothing could ground there. When to land there, I remember Everett Best came to see me, and so too Mr. Palmer, the pilot. They said, listen to me. This is a beautiful airport which you're building. They took the aircraft very close down on the ground and went up back. No problem with the land. Of course, everybody tell you it's a beautiful airport, the land.
Mike Arthur is an retired international pilot. We had him here twice, I think, and he confirmed that. It's a beautiful airport.
You know,
in those
so
days.
The opposition which I met from this thing, from the beginning to the end, by the New Democratic Party and their fellow travelers. And I want Vincentians to know this. And I want the 900 people who are working at Sandals to know this. I want the farmers and the fisher folk who are providing to all the hoteliers with the increased rooms to know this. I want those NDP person who buying vehicles and making the money off of them because of the airport and Sandals, while they're damning Ralph and the airport. Know where their bread is buttered. And for all the hypocrites who mocked and were angered and turned to political conspiracy. But every week they flying in and out of AIA. I had foretold what would happen, you know. So when people come on issues with maintenance and so on and so forth, I remember there's an online publication for every time something happened and we had to push back the possible date for the opening of the airport. The long delay the airport, not talking about the importance of the airport. A lot of propaganda and lies. These people think I forget this. I forgive them.
Two short questions.
But I don't forget it. And people will hear me more and more about that. They say the same thing they said every time we do a big project. Path changing, Rabaka Bridge, education revolution, the port, the Annisvale cricket facility. And I would like to say something about cricket before I finish.
Yes, but before you do come to that, I just want to, we still have, well, it's close to one. So
Yeah.
but we still have some time because the management allows that.
Okay, thanks.
You're here. So I remember that. But I just want to go back to the Canavan airport. The activity that's going to be organized by Tommy Hilfiger. Are the planes, well, I presume they're coming by planes, jets. Are they going to be landing at Argyle?
They would be some would be landing at Argyle and some would land at Canavan.
Okay, that's a clarification. And also, the one of the jet bridge, as I understand, had some. Is it up and going?
Yeah, it was repaired.
Okay, so both of
Repaired,
them.
both of them.
I just want to ask a small question.
Now we mentioned
But-
Canavan.
Yeah.
Bijan, this year I have money in the budget for Canavan to do some resurfacing. But the Canavan airport runway rehabilitation done by the client is the Ministry of Transport Works Lands Physical Planning. Cox Consult GmbH, final design report, financing done by the Caribbean Development Bank. This is $40 million US. Not the report, what we do take here.
Yeah.
We're trying to see what we can scale down over people looking at it. So I want to do fix up the aerodrome now for the moment. Do something, make it easier for the plane them to land. But
Is it going to be
I'm coming to this.
extended or
no, but we have to do a lot of sea defense work because part of it has been shaken. We want to do some things with the fire station, something with the terminal building, with the tarmac itself, they widen the apron, and so on. Lots of things. This is a serious government, you know. This is a serious government.
Well, the type of projects that you're into could indicate that. But I wanted to ask Prime Minister about the AIA. In terms of its role and significance in national development, could you make a comment on that?
As I said earlier at the beginning, AIA is part of the paradigm shift in the economy and consequently in the society in this country. You have about $1.5 billion worth of direct investments already in hotels and guest houses and apartments because of AIA and because of this particular facility to bring people in and take them out directly from the source markets. Then there are ancillary, not now the direct things with the rooms, the accommodation. Land sports. You see these machines, what you call them? Is it ATVs? That's what they call them? Yeah. The people who operate in them,
Yeah.
making good money.
Okay.
The tour operators, the land tours, marine taxis, see, they taking people hither and thither. Entertainers, cultural artists of one kind or another, vendors. And we still have to do more things because you had Carlos and you all are talking about a number of other spin-offs last week. I listened very carefully, and Joel particularly was raising important questions in that regard. All those are part and parcel of what we're doing. And the farmers and the fisher folk, that's where we are. And Marriott is coming. Sandals are about to start putting on another 18 suites costing close to 20 million US. Their sweet spot where they are, they have 303, 305 keys at the moment. They want to take it up. Their sweet spot is about 450. They have land to put another block of another 100, 120 rooms. And Sandals tells everybody that in terms of a government working with investors, local and foreign, they say it's the best that they have. They come to us, we tell them quickly what we can do and what we can't do. An investor knows what, because he makes his judgment of what you can do and what you can't do. Don't drag them out. And we move with expedition. And we're going to see more and more of this expansion. Then, this morning, Sabota came to me. We had a meeting before I came down here. He had to report to me on a trip he made overseas and then some other things we have to deal with about the new directions in agriculture with the fruits and the vegetables, greenhouse park, so on. Things which you can't do these things. You can't bring the tourists and don't have fresh fruits and vegetables for them, and fresh fish, and so on. Now, I mentioned how the airport was so important for cricket at the facility which we just expanded. The lights and everything else, everybody knows that. Camilo has a WhatsApp message from a relevant person with whom he is dealing with at Cricket West Indies that we will get some T20 games for the Australia Tour for 2025.
Okay.
That's what had been said. On Wednesday, the 5th of February at 12 o'clock, Cricket West Indies announced the games for 2025. St. Vincent is not there for the St. Vincent Grendy is not there for the games for the Australian tour. But we were informed only 2 days before, in fact, close to midday, a letter came from Cricket West Indies that in 2025, all they'd be getting would be some games involving a T20 with women. We're happy about that, but we'll want to see our women. And then next year, something from New Zealand, some T20s, and 2027, something with women again. The assurances which were given for by Cricket West Indies to St. Vincent and the Grenadines about 2025 with some Australian games. Those assurances have not came to fruition. Camilo, who has been dealing with them interfacing, because he had been very much involved with it as a Minister of Economic Development, and very involved in the sport facility, with the cricket facility. He even said to them, well, there is the Holiday Inn, because the Holiday Inn doesn't do lunch or dinner, but arrangements can be made, suitable arrangements can be made, and something can be done if you just inform us. Or if they even want to go to Sandals, which is expensive, relevant arrangements can be made, talk to us. Nothing at all. No, I do not want to suggest at all that there's any perfidy involved. I will never suggest that the president of Cricket West Indies, because of his membership of the New Democratic Party and he's running as a candidate, I'll never suggest that you'd want to see St. Vincent and the Grenadines disadvantaged in an election year. I wouldn't make that suggestion at all. That's why I say I wouldn't say that there's any perfidy at stake. But it raises the question, which I've raised from the very beginning, and which leaders in CARICOM have raised. I was at the meeting in Guyana, which followed the meeting with Modi, with CARICOM. There was a meeting with Cricket West Indies. I had to come back because I had some pressing business after the meeting with Modi. But I had a representative, the foreign minister was there at that meeting. I know it was raised. It is entirely inappropriate. And I want the region to quote me on this. It is entirely inappropriate for the president of Cricket West Indies to remain as president of Cricket West Indies while he is an active politician to compete for electoral office in one of those territories, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Cricket West Indies is a uniting phenomenon, not to be subject to any political divisiveness, and there must be no taint of that. Cricket West Indies in this regard is like CARICOM, the OECS, the University of the West Indies. You don't expect the Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, even if the rules don't completely prohibit it, to be a candidate in Jamaica, Barbados, or Trinidad for electoral office. You wouldn't expect that to be the case of the president of the Caribbean Development Bank. You wouldn't expect that, or the Secretary General of CARICOM or the OECS. One would expect that with his office, next month is elections, re-election for the Cricket West Indies. He could have said, Mr. Shallow could have said, Dr. Shallow could have said, well, I will not offer myself any longer. I'll see out my term because I anticipate that the election in St. Vincent and the Grenadines will be sometime after that. Instead, what is happening? He's seeking to have his term extended by a year. Raising the Webby report saying we really shouldn't even have any elections now. We should have it accepted, and they want to see if they can get that accepted on Sunday at the West Indies, today at a meeting at the Cricket West Indies, the board meeting, to extend this term by a year and to have the elections next year instead. Now, reasonable persons may inquire, is Dr. Shallow seeking to do this as gamblers will do the each way bet? Just in case I make it here, I make it there? Persons may raise that query. Now, I raise this in the context of bringing people for cricket. Of course, the government of St. Vincent is not an NGO. And we will not have, if Cricket West Indies wouldn't want to provide games, which there was, if not an assurance, an indication that more than likely you will get Australia games, some T20s. Well, we should be told, why not? Mm. And if there was any issue which we needed to address, give us an opportunity to address, as we have done with Cricket World Cup and also with the Bangladesh games. And the government had indicated that through the Minister of Finance, the person with whom he is dealing with at Cricket West Indies, that is, we'd like the games and we will make adjustments if you wish. No, this is not to say that I'm not happy that other countries have gotten their games, because we have so many grounds that at any one time, everybody can't have games.
But I thought, Prime Minister, that Arnoldsville has become the premier
well, the point about it is this: the turnout for Bangladesh and the turnout before that for games which people didn't think would have, the way our people have turned out. Mm-hmm. But as I say, the government is not an NGO, and we can bring top quality cricket, okay, ourselves.
Okay.
I would wish it to be done under the auspices of Cricket West Indies. Mm-hmm. But I say, I will not aver that perfidy is at stake. Mm-hmm. That because if you have the Australian team coming here in an election year, it gives a bounce, it gives a mood that, the opposition may not like it. And I'm not saying that this would have influenced Dr. Shallow. I would not dare suggest that without any evidence. But reasonable persons may say that is why somebody who is in charge of Cricket West Indies as president should not be involved in active politics in any of the territories, but competing for elections.
I've always been told, Prime Minister, that even before AIA, that the Australians like to come to St. Vincent. I've been told that. I don't know if anyone else has.
Well, they came here for warm-up games for Cricket World Cup. This was their base in 2007 for warm-up games. Remember, they were here.
Yeah, I know that.
For Cricket World Cup. We didn't get any of the games because we didn't have the international airport and we didn't have the size of the hotels to have everybody now. Mm-hmm. But now we have that.
But I used to hear, even during the days of Magra, is that his name? The fast bowler.
Yeah, Magra.
He did like to come to Vinci. That's what I was told.
But are you calling on Dr. Shallow to resign from his position as president of Cricket West Indies?
No. All I'm saying is this. You can't do both things. I'm not telling him which one to do. I'm not calling on him either to resign.
Could you recall any other active politician being involved at the cricket West Indies level?
No, not an active politician being involved contesting for electoral office. Julian Hunt had already demitted office as leader of the opposition and also got out of competitive politics when
And
he
that's for
became
St. Lucia.
in St. Lucia, when he became president. I know of no case. But if there's any such case, it's wrong. Because already in one of the territories in which cricket, we are part of it. The games are going to be played in Florida. Some games are going to be played in Florida. Of course, for those Caribbean countries that get games this year. Some games this year. I think the Pakistan tour afterwards. I think Australia and Pakistan are coming. And the Pakistan tour, there's some games are going to be played in some county somewhere in Florida. But and that's an issue which has to be addressed. The other thing is this. I just want to make my position clear on another matter. The matter has been put to CARICOM. We don't know if there's any finality yet about a lottery. Some Americans to run a lottery, which would involve cricket, some monies would go to Cricket West Indies. I made it plain already. Some of those, once an American firm which had come here, I don't know if it's the same one. Understand it probably might be. Came here once, wanted to run a lottery here. And a businessman, now dead, was very enthusiastic. Came. I said, but why would I want to give a foreign operator to run a lottery in St. Vincent? To do what? I said, we have a national lottery doing quite well. We're the best run national lottery as far as I know in the entire Eastern Caribbean. Why do I want to have somebody else to do it? I told them, I said, bring some investment to the hotel or factory or something. Any foreign operator which is coming here to run a lottery, as distinct from being the provider of the services or infrastructure, like we have Canadian Bank now to provide the infrastructure, but we run our lottery. We're going to export a lot of money overseas. Cricket West Indies get some drips and drabs. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not going there. I made that plain long before this issue which has arisen about Australia. Again, I want to emphasize, I have nothing untoward to say about those countries which got games, because I realize that not everybody can get games every year. You see what I mean, Peter? And given the number of grounds which there are, top-class grounds. But given what had happened last year with the turnout here by Vincentians, clearly, when stadia across the region were scantily, there were hardly any, there's not much attendance. Ours was jam-packed. And there was an indication, if not an assurance. Camilo has the WhatsApp message. We should have been given the courtesy to say, listen, we were thinking about this, but so-and-so has arisen. But you told us just emphatically 2 days before the announcement was made. In other words, when the decisions were already made, so that we couldn't do anything. To say, well, what is the reason? What is there anything which we need to correct? What do, whatever. So,
are we familiar with the process that goes into deciding venues?
The process, as I see it, the process seems to be opaque to me. I'm sure they have their own sets of rules and rationales and so on.
Shouldn't that be shared with the cabinet, with the West Indian public?
Well, you know, one of the things, Cricket West Indies has changed the name from the West Indies Cricket Board of Control to Cricket West Indies to give it less of a controlling nature. But it seems as though that there's still this control, and there are many things which need to be asked. There's a Dream 11 competition. I think it started here. The T10 now.
Oh, Vinci.
Yeah, a T10, the T10 competition, which is linked with betting entities in
India.
and it's done there. Is Cricket West Indies involved?
That's VPL.
Is Cricket West Indies involved? Or are individual persons in West Indies, Cricket West Indies, involved in a personal way or in some other corporate entity? I think we would like to know, because the players are not being treated very well. I've been advised, because I would expect P. John, that when they have these games, that they will have proper facilities, the medical facilities, the people will be paid a certain, the cricketers will be paid a certain amount of money and so on. But the money which they get in is dribblings for professionals.
How will you respond to the view that your grouses with Cricket West Indies arise out of the fact that Shallow is contesting in a party that opposes you?
It's reasonable for persons to raise that question, and then all I ask them to say, have I said anything which on the face of it is unreasonable? For you to dispute what I've said, P. John, the argument has to be, it's perfectly in order for a man to be president of Cricket West Indies and at the same time being a competitor for political office inside of one of the territories. And I've made the comparison with the other regional institutions which are united. If you say that you don't agree with me there, you can argue against that proposition. Similarly, and why I raise the issue is outside of a national concern, that there were some indications that you had that we probably would have gotten Australian games. And that there may be perfectly good reasons why we are not getting Australian games in accordance with any set of criteria. But I said the indications which had been given, and reasonable persons may ask the question whether there is a connection with the fact that this year is an election year in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I'm not making an assertion.
Well, PM, we have a number of journalists around. They may wish to explore that further.
Yeah.
In any event, we can have another time. Malan, you make that a few questions? Yeah. First, yeah. So let's invite persons who wish to ask short questions, because we're kind of against time right now. 457-9997 is the number to call if you want to pose questions to PM. And you can call us on that number direct or via WhatsApp, or you can send us a WhatsApp message. We'd be able to respond. In the meantime, we have a couple WhatsApp messages, PM, which would like you to respond to based on what you said a while ago. Somebody's saying here, if a foreigner wants to open a casino, would the PM accept? PM, that's a question.
I am not opposed in principle, and the government is not opposed in principle to a casino in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. In fact, casino licenses have been granted in 2 situations by governments other than this one. First of all, a license was granted to the casino, the Emerald Valley Casino, during the Milton Cato regime. And a casino was granted in the developed area of Canouan under the James Mitchell administration. So the 2 different political parties granted licenses. I know when the first time there was a license granted, some churches in St. Vincent with the Emerald Valley Casino raised questions. But the questions were raised and the casino continued, a small casino. Issues, of course, would be where you're going to have the casino, who all are going to be there. Is it going to be, Cecil, everybody can just walk off of the street and play there, or you're having some system of who, if you're doing it at a hotel, for instance, is it persons only who are hotel guests to play at the casino? You know,
Yes.
so you may well have it granted, but with particular conditions. The conditions can't be too restrictive or indeed oppressive. Otherwise, the investor may not wish to get involved in it. But I wouldn't in principle say no. What I've opposed, because this particular foreign entity which I spoke to you about, which wanted to do lotto and other things, they wanted to do these. Then they said, okay, keep your lotto, but we will do these video machines. And I said, no, I'm not going to have them, because those are addictive and can create impulses for young persons to seek to acquire money and property other than through legitimate means in order to satisfy this addiction.
Somebody's asking about dual citizenship. Could you respond to that?
St. Vincent and Grenadines permits dual citizenship. As far as I'm aware, all the countries in CARICOM now have dual citizenship. Trinidad and Tobago once didn't have it. The United States of America once didn't have it, but they now have it. Holland doesn't have it. There are many Vincentians who renounce their Vincentian citizenship. Not a lot, but several have renounced their citizenship because they've been living in Holland or in Curacao and Aruba, or Bonaire, and they want to have citizenship of Holland, and they allow only one citizenship. Okay. Cuba allows one. So that we have given Cubans Vincentian citizenship here. They're wrong, living and working for 7 years or more, or they've been married to a Vincentian. So we will recognize both their Cuban citizenship and their Vincentian citizenship. But when they go to Cuba, Cuba only says that they only have one citizenship, is your Cuban citizenship.
Kojo wanted to say hi to your Prime Minister.
Hey, Kojo.
Coach Mason. So let us again remind you that the number to call is 457-9997 if you wish to ask a question or to make a point on the program.
While we're in citizenship, according to Henley and Partners, St. Vincent and the Grenadines has the third strongest passport in the region.
Yes, after Bahamas and Barbados.
Yes.
And you notice the difference
And
between
it's
us is just
27th in the world.
about 1 point or so between ourselves and Barbados.
Yeah.
And yes, it's and we have done a remarkable amount of work on tightening up on our passport. Remember when a Canadian minister had confused us with another country? Remember talking about our source documents and all the rest. I said, but we had gone past that long ago. You know, a conservative member of the government, a member of the conservative government at the time, before Trudeau's government. And Pigeon, I begin with some things, with some simple propositions, you know. You've heard me on this before. The two most important books in the average Vincentian's house is the Bible and the passport. And the Bible, we get it in duty free. It's a document, it's a book which has come from the King James Version in 1611. Of course, there's the Dewar version. There's the book, the Bible, and the books of the Apocrypha, the hidden things. But there is that. And then the other one is the passport, and I want that passport to be a high quality passport, both physically, the source documents, and everything. And we have invested in that, and we have done that quite well, and we have made many changes to the passport and immigration department, and so on and so forth. These things don't happen by accident, you know, Pijan. It's deliberate policy of a government.
Somebody is asking, oh, I don't understand this. A giveaway of relief money. I don't think it doesn't have any meaning really.
Well, the maybe in the parliament, the opposition called the Ministry of National Mobilization the giveaway ministry.
Oh,
the handout ministry. The handout ministry. No, I don't understand it. Anytime the government sets about to help to protect people, ordinary people, provide a safety net for them, to give income support. And we have done this over all these, Cecil, we did it under COVID, we did it in the volcanic eruption, we're doing it now. The opposition attacks it as a handout. But why is it they attack it as handout when I'm giving to the poor, the marginalized, or those who have suffered harm because of some event like COVID or volcanic eruption or a storm or hurricane? But what they want me to do is to give more concessions to rich people. It's a peculiar thing, you know. For the poor, it's derided as handout. But it's all right for the rich or the better off. I want people to understand the mindset which considered. And at the same time, you have, as I pointed out, in the then say that it is riddled with politics. We only give it because we give it out to people who are ULP and not NDP people. Now, if you have 6,000 farmers, 6,000 something farmers, would somebody please tell me how you can give 6,000 ULP farmers, or predominantly you go and say people, this is a ULP person, and give them and don't give the others. It doesn't happen like that.
We have another call. Oh,
And let me just say this. And Senator John for the NDP made that accusation. And I rightly pointed out when she made that accusation, well, explain to me how you and your husband got income support. Explain to me. Sorry.
yes, somebody's calling PM. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Yes, good morning. Good morning to
Good
all in the
afternoon.
studio,
Good afternoon. Yes.
including in the PM. My name is Jeff. I had put a message up to ask the PM. There is something going on here in the United States on WhatsApp and other circulation about using one's country's passport to return home to St. Vincent or any Caribbean island. This is something that I believe to do with the Trump, with our new president. That if you use your St. Vincent passport to return to St. Vincent vacation, when you come back to the United States, it can be taken away from you. Is the PM heard of anything about this?
The American government can't take away the Vincentian passport. It's not a property.
No, they're not taking. They're not taking away Vincentian passport. They can renege and take away your U.S. citizenship because you use your Vincentian passport to enter the country.
No.
Country of birth.
The United States of America allows dual citizenship.
Right.
That's not the issue. The issue is whether the person is in the United States of America is there legitimately. There are some persons, as you know, who have overstayed their time. A person who is a citizen of the United States and who has an American passport and has a Vincentian passport, they can use, if they're going back to the United States, they would use the American passport because they wouldn't have a visa. If you use a Vincentian passport going back to America.
Yeah. Well, I've done that. I have a Vincentian passport, and I've done that.
When you leave America, you can leave with your American passport. You leave with it, and when you enter in St. Vincent, you show them your Vincentian passport. That's fine. And you're going back, and you go back to America, and you show them your American passport when you enter in.
Yes, I understand that, but this thing is circulating. It's in the same thing. You can use your Vincentian passport or whatever passport, but when you get back here, immigration is going to ask you, how did you enter the country of birth, like going to St. Vincent? I guess they're looking for stamp, and they're saying that the American passport wasn't stamped. Therefore, you use your passport to go into your country.
No, but
that's what is circulating.
No. But you can explain that to them. And unless they have some rule to the contrary, I don't know any existing legal provision where that can be done. You're a citizen of the United States. They take away your citizenship because you enter the country of your origin with your Vincentian passport. No, that.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but this thing is circulating here. So
all right, Jeff. All right.
And no.
Not a problem. Have a good
God bless you, my brethren.
All right. Yeah.
Yes. All right.
Okay. Somebody's saying, Prime Minister, Mr. Prime Minister, you inspire me. Keep going. Keep up the good work. It says Mrs. Cambridge.
I appreciate my dear sister. I appreciate.
The person's asking, PM, America doesn't give dual citizenship.
No. The United States, you can have my understanding is this: you can have a citizenship of the United States and the citizenship of another country. When you get an American citizenship, as far as I am aware, you're not asked to renounce any other citizenship that you have.
That's what Jeff said. Just
you're not asked to renounce any other citizenship. But I'm saying in a country like Holland, you're asked to renounce your Vincentian citizenship.
Okay.
I have never seen an application in 24 years that I'm prime minister that that somebody a Vincentian who got an American citizenship is asked before they get the American citizenship to renounce the Vincentian citizenship. I've never seen that. And from what I have read and what I've been advised, the United States hitherto did not permit dual citizenship, but it is now permitted.
You have a call online.
Sorry.
Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon to the host collectively. That is,
Good afternoon.
Dr. Richard Cox. Byron
Yes.
Cox.
Oh,
You
that's
can't
him.
hide your voice, boy. Though of course,
Oh my God!
though of course,
When
it's,
I try to
though,
use all kind of technical anything, you know.
though of course, Richard, it's quite possible that AI, somebody can get your voice and use AI and is not Richard.
You're on the ball in everything, right? Nothing new passes you, right? But it's good to hear you, Prime Minister. And I just have this very simple but rather profound question to me, personally, and that's why I have to ask it. In all of this, I'm going back to the airport. In building all of this from day one, you face so much opposition. You told a story of even the day when you presented it, the electricity went, and you had
Yes.
to wait an hour and a half from the first moment till even when you needed only another 70, 80 million US to finish it. And him said to you, I wish you luck with that. And even when you finish it, comrade, when you done it, comrade, right? When you finish it, they wrote a letter to say, let it sit there and rot.
Let me tell you
But
something.
let's just wind back before that.
Something which I didn't mention. Let me mention this. You know, a false allegation was made against me in relation to a matter of criminal misconduct.
Yeah.
Which, as you know, the Director of Public Prosecution
Call it nullipress.
simply nullified it.
Yes.
On the basis that there was no credible evidence. I was going to Turkey, where I was going to discuss this very thing in 2008 with Prime Minister Erdogan as he was then. And the discontinuance of the prosecution took place before the date when I was to appear in court. And it was said that I couldn't leave the country, that a warrant would be issued for my arrest if I leave to go to Turkey.
My God.
That was lawyers.
That one I never heard before, I must admit.
Eh?
First time I'm hearing that one.
So I'm at every single step of the way. There was a concerted attempt to undermine the work that I was doing and to assault me in some way personally. When I say assault me, not physically.
I understand.
Though that's assault physical, though it evolved into physical assault. In fact, a battery subsequently when I got my head bust. Sorry, I'm cutting in, but you're asking the question, Richard.
Yes,
Sorry.
I'm asking this question. No, all of that is relevant because I learned something from it as well. I was asking this question. All of that fight in everything, when you started, you used to have related to that story. Look, I went to this bank and to that bank and to this country and to that country, and some people even thought that I was Don Quixote, as you say yourself, and all of that. And then at home here, to every single day be battered by an opposition who know nothing, who understand nothing. In other words, didn't you ever feel that I can't do this thing? Did you ever despair?
No,
did you ever
never.
at any moment feel despondent? Did you at any moment lost faith? And if so,
Never.
If not, why?
Never.
And well, never. So explain to us, why is it? Because I saw you do it a couple of times before, right? Not before, during your life. For example, our UNC. They even wrote letters to countries telling them not to vote for you.
Yes.
And you won. But that's a different thing. This is building an airport that is worth more than $1 billion.
Look,
and nobody believed.
Look.
And you never lost faith? Explain to us why you never lost faith.
When I was elected as Prime Minister, I wanted to make a difference for the better. And we had to have a paradigm shift in the economy. And a paradigm shift in many things which we were doing. I've written on this, spoken on it many times. And I was not going to allow anyone to deter me from something which was necessary and desirable to be done. And in my life, especially in my political life, every time there is a setback, it is always my determination to turn that setback into an advance. That has been the way of anybody who has achieved anything worthwhile. And look, I am satisfied that the good Lord has given me a hand to play with the endorsement of the people, and I do what I consider to be right and proper in the interest of the people. And that's it. Simple, straightforward, not complicated at all.
Thank you. You're a very, very strong man. I pray that you always have that strength and more. Blessings, my comrade.
Thank you very much.
All right, then.
I appreciate it.
Dr. Scott, Dr. Richard Cox, sorry. I want to change your name. Not Scott, Dr. Cox. Thanks for calling. Have a good day. I noticed that Consul General McIntosh has been trying to call, so I'm going to wait on him to call again. He's been trying to call while we were in touch with Dr. Cox.
He probably might have some clarification on this issue, about the migration and the passport and so on.
In fact, this is him. Greetings, Consul General.
Hey,
sorry.
Good afternoon.
Oh, yes.
Hey, my brother.
Good afternoon, how are you doing,
sir? I'm fine, Luther. All the best to the family.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you so much. I just called to lend my voice to the previous caller who lamented about the issue going around in the virtual space about someone who lost their American passport and citizenship as a result of traveling home to their country, and that country is Barbados. That is what is going around in the virtual space. Now, we've been bombarded with that all week. You know, I got that same WhatsApp message. I saw people online doing live about it. And I sent it to the CARICOM Consular Corps, which is my fellow Consul General, and also the Consul General of Barbados, for him to try and validate it. Now, the reason why I am calling is just to put some clarity on what the U.S. law states. So it clearly states that U.S. nationals, including U.S. dual nationals, so they allow dual nationality, or you can be a citizen of the U.S. and other countries, whether by birth, they allow first descent, whether by naturalization, whatsoever. You get married, they allow that. Now, it states clearly that you must use a U.S. passport to enter and leave the United States. This is the part that really would apply to us as dual nationals. U.S. dual nationals may also be required by the country of their foreign nationality to use that country's passport to enter and leave that country. So all that is saying is the US is saying when you're leaving here, you must use your US passport if you're a national. And they're also saying in the law that if you as a Vincentian is going back home, you can use your Vinci passport to enter St. Vincent and leave St. Vincent. They even went on to say the use of the foreign passport to travel to and from a country other than the United States is not inconsistent with US law. So that clearly states that they should not penalize anyone for leaving the US and using your passport of St. Vincent or Barbados or whichever country you're a national of to enter and leave that country. So we at this stage cannot validate the authenticity of what is going around on social media.
I think all we must do there, therefore, is what you have just said, to put that on your website if it's not there already.
Yeah.
And advise Vincentians accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, certainly we'll do that, but we're still trying to validate because these are unprecedented times and things are happening outside of the norm.
Yes, I just want to say this, in as much as we're raising this.
Yes.
The Foreign Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines has written a letter to the relevant authority at the U.S. Embassy in Barbados because the government had received a diplomatic note from the U.S. government about issue about migration and deporting and repatriation and the like. And the foreign minister has made these 4 points. First of all, and I've spoken about them before, St. Vincent and the Grenadines is under an obligation to receive any of its citizens who has been deported or repatriated, which deportation or repatriation has taken place under the legal processes of the sending state in accordance with international law. We have that obligation. Secondly, that the sending state is obliged to respect rights of the individuals who are being deported or repatriated, and particularly not to subject that individual to any oppressive or illegal action. In other words, you take a man off a bus, you take him from a church or wherever you don't throw him into a dungeon. You have to make sure that he gets, if he's detained, he gets food, he gets the opportunity to contact the lawyer, the basic things now. And we are satisfied that the United States government, the United States legal system provides for that minimum required in international law. The third point we make is that we would wish the sending state, including the United States, to provide ample biographical data on the person who is being deported or repatriated, including any criminal antecedents. Most of the person, normally, Luther, every year, as you know, we will get sometimes 2-3 persons may come 2-3 times a year. They may be deported, repatriated.
Yes.
1 or 2 of them would have criminal records, but they will say if they deported a man because he coming out of jail because he was a burglar and he had overstayed his time, or they want to get him out because he didn't have proper papers in the US, tell us if there was anything else before which he has done and how long he has been in the United States and so on. Give us some background. We don't get sufficient information. And we in CARICOM, we have been asking them, and we reiterated that in the letter. And the fourth point that the foreign minister has made is that the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines would wish if the sending state can give favorable consideration to providing further assistance, whatever kind, in respect of any deportee or person being repatriated to assist with the reintegration in our own society, particularly if that person has had a worthwhile life in the United States, and they need to be reintegrated properly. No, I don't expect them. I mean, if somebody is in America for 20 years and they were there illegally, but they're working, they're doing good thing, they raise a family, sometimes they even get married there and so on and so forth. If you're sending them back, look, it's going to be difficult. Can you help with the reintegration? They don't have any obligation to do it, but I raise that within the context, the foreign minister raised that in the context of building efficacious partnerships, which is goal 17 of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which we all signed on to at the United Nations in September 2015. I believe that I should ask the foreign minister to consider making that letter public, that communication which we have sent to the United States government.
Yes.
All right, Consul General.
Thanks.
All right, thank you very much. Just let me call.
Very good clarification.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Yes, you're welcome. Okay, bye.
Luther confirms what I thought was the legal position.
Yeah, and the same person who was saying something to the contrary, she also quoted the same paragraph from the website. So perhaps she didn't quite follow what's written there. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
Mr. Rhiannon.
Hey, Uncle Sam.
Yeah, this is Uncle Sam.
How you doing?
Well, God is good. I'm still here.
God bless you.
As you also day by the sweet Jesus.
Yes, day by the sweet Jesus.
But I have 3 things to discuss with you, but not on the radio. And I want to know.
I go call you, Uncle Sam. I'll call you later today.
All right. Please don't forget.
No, I ain't gonna forget. I have a wedding later. I'll go call you before I go to the wedding.
Because they are very important things there.
All right then, Uncle Sam.
All right. Mr. Ryan, good day.
You too. Good afternoon to you.
And Pigeon.
Good day, sir.
Hope you're
All
doing
right, thank you.
okay. All right then. Good. All right. Prime Minister, it's gonna, and especially now you just mentioned you have to do the wedding. You have to
Right. What?
You have to really get home.
Well, what I'm going to do,
summary.
I'm going to go. I'm going to go to the reception, and I'm going to be able to get to go to the church. But to show my face, a friend of mine.
I know somebody was asking here about the use of the Inland Revenue Building. What's the plan for the use of the building?
The building is being retrofitted for purposes. Somebody had asked
the
about
former building.
the former building. Somebody asked me about it in respect of mass ban, but I said no. There are other facilities which have been had for that purpose.
Okay. All right, then, PM. Any final?
Well, I just want to say this, that we have built the largest project out at Argyle in the history of this country. And I think that persons would say it has been one of the most significant and, in fact, impactful projects. And we're making great progress. It is unfortunate that there are elements, even those today who make money off, who make a living from the Argyle International Airport, wish it ill. Some people are really perverse, because they put their partisan politics above the interests of the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We had a long journey in getting this. It has been accomplished, it's working. We have to defend it, we have to protect it, we have to maintain it well, and for it to serve for generations. And we have to make sure that we put plans in place, as I said, with the master plan study, to see how we can expand further. I'm happy to see that we have a Vincentian woman Vincentian, a young lady, who a child of the education revolution, as the CEO. We have a good board. And I'm asking that the workers cooperate with the management. I want the workers to know that I always be looking out for their interests, and particularly so if you love your airport, because that thing was built with faith, hope, and love. This is not something which is ordinary. It's you know, I use the analogy of the prophet building Nehemiah and rebuilding the city walls around Jerusalem. But in an existential sense, though the one I'm going to talk about was spiritual, but this one is secular. That, when David set about to conceive and plan to build the temple to house the Ark of the Covenant in ancient Hebrew times. And then Solomon, his son, completed it. This was something of spiritual existentialism for the Hebrew people. This one is of secular existentialism. And David, in his planning and preparation, got a lot of knocks. And when Solomon was building it, the same thing happened. He got a lot of criticism from the naysayers. I guess some people just don't have the vision. Some people just don't have the love in their heart to see what is good for the country. And people have to make a judgment about these things. We are at a point now, and particularly with the increased hostility which is taking place across the world and emanating from some quarters in the United States, the viability of small states. We have very little room for divisiveness and for error. And people have to take more seriously at a national level what is happening. And I want to talk to the supporters of the Unity Labour Party before I leave. I know sometimes some of you may say, I support in Labour, I ain't get nothing. You may say you ain't get nothing. But your children, them, get university education, went to secondary school, get community college, get supports along the way, lift the family. Maybe you'll see a community facility which has improved, sports facilities. You might not have gotten anything inside of your hand, but you can't allow that because of the goodness and what has developed the country. You benefit from that. And you can't behave like Samson, wanting to bring down the temple and everybody head, including your own. Especially some of them who say, "Me now vote again." You do that, those who are opposed to progress will triumph. Good people had to go to the polls and vote the Unity Labour Party. Thank you.
There's a lot of WhatsApp messages being, but we can't read all them all the time. And also people trying to call in, but we can't. But we thank you very much, Prime Minister, for sharing part of your day with us.
Thanks.
And for speaking to the Vincentian audience. As usual, I'm sure people appreciate.
Well, there's lots of information.
Yes, a lot of an abundance of
and
information.
as I said, Pijan, I expected that you and Cecil will start at the end, so that, and then to go back to the beginning. That's why I came with the data.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, but just before you go, Prime Minister, I at the beginning, before you came in, I was expressing solidarity with Darren Andrews.
I spoke to Darren himself.
Oh, okay.
I spoke to him personally, and I've talked to him about a number of things.
Yeah,
so he and I had a good conversation yesterday.
Yes. I promised on radio that
I called about.
He's the one who drove me when I had that mishap last year.
Yes.
He's the one who drove
He's a
me.
good human being, very good human being, talented cultural artist. Is just unfortunate. The part I feel sorry about with him, or we can always buy back a violin. We can always buy back studio equipment and so on, all those things. He's going to take some time, buy back a computer and so on. But it's going to take a lot of time for him to get back his intellectual property. So he has a lot of things stored.
Yeah.
That is the part. Money can't buy that. That's what I feel very badly about. But I'm happy. I'm happy that nobody got injured or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And his dear wife and baby, they are currently away and so forth. And when I called him, some friends were by him, giving him moral support and so forth. A good young man.
Yes,
I love him a lot.
I personally owe my debt of gratitude because of the role he played.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Prime Minister, thank you very much, and we'll have to talk again for the next time.
Thanks.
All right. So, Pigeon, that's about it, and we don't want to keep Marlon any longer.
I wanted to hear with Prime Minister's view on Hurricane Trump, but that's for another time. Whether we have Nemo ready.
So that's the next time. But that's out of season hurricane. Yeah, all right. So we want to thank all those folks who followed the program today via Star FM, Star Radio, Garfina Radio, and of course also the base here at WEFM. We thank you very much, and we invite you to, as usual, tune in next week, and we would be here. And you would have more time for you to contribute anyway. In the meantime, my name is Cecil Ryan on behalf of Pigeon and Marlon. Good afternoon and have a very pleasant day.
Yes, so that has been your Issue at Hand program for today. Another Sunday here on the clean, fresh sound of WEFM 99.9. Enjoy the rest of your day.